Creating a podcast like Don't Shoot the Messenger can be a lot of hard work, but Anchor helps make our job a little bit easier. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. So, if you've always wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast.
The following podcast is a work of fiction. Any resemblance to persons living or allegedly dead is a complete coincidence. You'll pay no attention to any of it. Everything discussed is a lie. Even this disclaimer. You have been warned. It's time for
Don't Shoot the Messenger.
That's right. Welcome back to another episode of Don't Shoot the Messenger. As always, I'm Chris Dickens alongside my cohort,
Jinx. Just Jinx.
And we have a good one for you today, guys. They're always good, but it's a good one today, too.
Yeah, something fun to dig into and exciting and back on track.
Back on track.
With our conspiracies.
I'm always on track with my conspiracies. I don't know where you've been.
Texas.
But
anyway.
Anyway, Philadelphia experiment.
Yeah, this is interesting. It's something I, again, hadn't heard of, just like most of these conspiracy theories. Until you tell me about them, I'm like, what?
I kind of throw stuff at you, Jinx, and we just kind of make it work.
I'm like spaghetti on a wall.
So
back on track.
Philadelphia experiment. It was an alleged military experiment that I guess happened, or it was carried out by the U.S. Navy at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Back during World War II.
43 was the supposed time, 1943. The exact date should be around, well, not exact, but it should have been around October 28th-ish, in 1943. And the whole premise of it is that, I guess the government made a ship disappear.
Yeah, they were wanting it to be a cloaking kind of thing. First, they wanted to make it disappear from radar, so it wasn't detectable on radar.
Yes.
And then when they did the experiment, supposedly they're like, oh, wait, it turns it invisible to the eyes, too, so you can't see it, was the next thing. And then eventually, they started to think that it also helped with teleportation.
Yes, it eventually led to teleportation. It was the USS Eldridge. It was just very interesting reading about this, about how people's accounts of it, I guess you would say. Yeah. Not many accounts, but people who supposedly
ones that came out and talk about it, have similar stories to tell.
Very similar stories of essentially the ship just disappearing and then reappearing in a different spot.
As you would say with teleportation, There was one person that was interviewed that was talking about it, said that, it was like this, several people said there was green smoke that came up, like this ozone-y smoke is how they described it. And one gentleman said he could stick his arm in it and his arm turned all faded and weird and stuff. And he pulled it back out. That's what he claims anyways. Yeah. How he was that close to the smoke, I don't know.
Yeah,
the energy field, because it's electromagnetics is what they're calling it, right?
Electromagnetics, yes. A lot of accounts were very similar. So people that did come out were very, very similar. Not exactly the same. Everyone kind of had a little bit of varying differences.
As with any story.
In their stories, but it was very similar. But there were some discrepancies on timeline, at least. According to the Eldridge ship log, it wasn't commissioned until August 27th and 43. And it remained in the port of New York City till September 43. And it was supposedly took place while the ship was on its first shakedown cruise in the Bahamas. Yeah. So it was in the Bahamas in October, supposedly, and not in the Philadelphia shipyard.
Yet somehow when they did the experiment, that's where it reappeared. It was supposed to be in the Bahamas. Yeah. Right?
I mean,
because that's where you usually station naval ships, right?
Yeah.
In the Bahamas.
Duh. I mean, it's like when I lose my keys and then I find them and I'm like, yeah, I meant to put them there.
Yeah. That's where they were always for.
They're meant to be in the couch cushions. Duh. Yeah. So it started, the beginnings of the story of the experiment begins in October 43 in Norfolk, Virginia. And the story did not turn up until more than 10 years later. So it wasn't until the 50s that people started actually talking of this. Some men aboard said they saw the ship spontaneously appear in the water of Norfolk, not the Bahamas. So
yeah,
so that's where some accounts, I guess, have been miscued. And it came from, the story goes, it came from Philadelphia. The destroyer first disappeared and then instantly teleported to Norfolk. This disappearance and the teleportation were apparently two different functions of the experiment.
Yeah, so it's questionable, like, what were they exactly experimenting and doing? Because even, like, when they talked to Einstein, he claimed he was working on one thing, but they're wondering if he was actually working on this instead, as it was a cover-up, kind of thing for what he was actually working on. But were they just working on a cloaking thing, or like from the radar, like they said, or were they actually working on trying to disguise and create this invisibility cloak for the whole ship? And where did they get that advanced technology then? And I was about to say, why aren't we seeing more of it now? But that would be kind of self-explanatory, wouldn't it?
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, you see, our technology is growing more and more, and the rate that it's growing is astounding. And yes, you could be like, oh, well, we learn more, blah, blah, blah. But like, if you look, I mean, throughout periods of time, our technology has always just kind of rapidly grown and then slowed down, and then rapidly grown and then slowed down.
It takes leaps, and it stops,
takes
and then another
leaps.
leap.
And it's not like little leaps. It takes big leaps. And that's what we've seen. So the story also goes that, once they reached Norfolk, I guess clearly things went wrong. There were people missing from the ship. Others had gone mad.
And some were like fused into the ship, supposedly. You know, like that they were like halfway in the deck or fused to the metal walls and stuff of the ship. Is the really crazy stories that what they claim happened to these poor people on the ship. If that did happen, I mean, like, can you imagine? Like, all of a sudden you're in one place and next thing you know, you're half part of a ship. I mean, like that.
I couldn't even imagine.
And of course, you wonder, well, how in the world do they cover up a whole shipload of people, like keep people quiet? But
it's the government.
And, like, so the ones that went mad, in asylums, and they're just crazy, and they don't know what they're talking about. And they claimed all these people were lost at sea. Is what they told the families.
They say this person's crazy. They have no idea what they're talking about. That's the government's like number one go-to of anybody trying to uncover anything. This guy's crazy. You're gonna listen to this batshit crazy guy? Come on.
And does that sound probable that a whole entire ship disappeared and reappeared somewhere? I mean, who's gonna be able to do that, and who's gonna believe that? Back in the 40s and 50s,
Of course, especially in the 50s, like they're gonna be like, really? Come on. Like, oh, you really believe that this actually happened, people? And that's when people were very trusting of their government, and they would always do right by you, and that's what people always believed in that time. And not saying that's a wrong thing, but it's just.
That's the way it was. The image you get of the 50s. But there was also a lot of things like with UFOs and aliens and questionable things that the government was trying to tamp down at the time. And conspiracies,
within that decade,
any mention of anything supernatural, the government was quick to shut down. So people didn't want to be saying, you got the McCarthy stuff going on too, like looking for communists. So you wouldn't want to be stepping out of the box and having the government come, looking into you because you were questioning things either. So you just stick with the status quo and don't talk about it.
Yeah, so the story supposedly comes from Carlos Allende, which is a pseudonym for Carl Allen. He wrote a detailed description about the event, along with claims he was witness aboard the SS Andrew Furseth.
Furseth?
F-U-R-U-S-E-F. Furseth?
F-U-R... Wait, what?
F-U-R-U-S-E-T-H.
Furseth. Yeah,
Furseth.
that sounds...
Okay.
Yeah.
The SS Andrew Furseth, when the USS Eldridge arrived in Norfolk, he sent the description to the Naval Office and Naval Research. The Naval Office of Research, sorry.
We knew what you meant.
Yeah, and then that's when the public got a hold of it and kind of took off with it. He claims that Einstein told him of the experiment himself.
It was Einstein one for giving away government secrets and talking about stuff you shouldn't be talking about?
Well, this is where it kind of gets a little foggy on if it's true or not, because why would Einstein...
It's out of the character for the person they're claiming is saying it and stating these facts, quote unquote.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that Einstein would just tell somebody this. I don't care if you're a naval officer or whatever. One, how did you have access to Einstein? Two, why would he
just
were your friends? Was he just trusting with you?
He just was trying to impress you with his vast knowledge and accessibility in the military. I mean, come on. What would Einstein's purpose be in telling this?
Well, and then the other thing was that the SS Andrew F, I'm just going to call it that, was not in Norfolk at the time when the USS Eldridge was present. And that's according to the ship logs. Once again,
makes it questionable. Yeah,
makes it questionable, but I think these are things that can be doctored or altered or
to make it look like he's lying or whatever. Especially, it's not, you don't have that computer tracking, like things going on with that data stored or video evidence, things today that you look for. And even then you have to question video evidence now. It's crazy.
So, yeah, I mean, as we said, there was no evidence that with Carl Allen's connection to Einstein, if they ever met, or even any of Einstein's connection to the Philadelphia experiment. There is, though, evidence that the USS Eldridge was present in Philadelphia and Norfolk around October 28th. 1943.
In both places. Mm-hmm.
And there are counterclaims to Allen's witnessing it, but no solid proof of him not witnessing it, or others who have claimed that they witnessed it. So
there's not really much of a way to disprove it, because you could prove it if you have pictures of these people supposedly stuck in the metal, or, have somebody that actually experienced it. If you could, find them infallible, and nowadays they'd be dead anyways, for the most part, you would think. Not very many World War II survivors at this point in time. So how do you prove it or disprove it at this point?
Yeah, I don't think there is any way to prove it or disprove it. I think it's one of those things where it's become an urban legend.
Yeah,
if you will.
And so it's like something you either believe happened or you don't believe happened.
Well, I mean, you also got to think about it. Most people around then probably dead by now.
Mm-hmm. Anybody who would have witnessed it, and they also say that, I don't know if you heard this one, but they claim that they tried doing the experiment on just a person, and his head was decapitated from his body. So his head went one way and his body went the other. One stayed one. And
that's molecular manipulation.
Yeah. So, is this why we haven't seen more advancement or anybody trying this because it's just too dangerous? Or is it actually being used and utilized in secret parts of the military that we don't know about?
Well, exactly. Well, my whole thing is, I've heard me say it in episodes before, everything hides in plain sight. They always hide stuff in plain sight. I believe the government and all the sub-governments and dark governments all hide everything in plain sight and make it known that they're there. But it's also the fact that people will be like, well, they're there. Like, no, you're just crazy.
I think you got to remember it's a capitalistic society, right? So if somebody finds a way that they can make a fortune and make money doing, like doing something like teleportation, they're going to find a way to make money out of it.
Well,
so
the government will just pay them for the technology. Don't think that doesn't happen when somebody comes with a breakthrough of that. They're not like, this is ours now. Here's some money. Shut up. Like,
but if one person figured it out, then another person could.
Of course, other people are going to find traces of research.
There's so many billions of dollars being poured into government and defense, right? I mean, not government, military and defense is to pay off for things like this.
Do you know where all this money goes for military defense?
No, that's why I'm saying.
Exactly. But back when we touched on the 9/11 episode, remember I think $2 billion went missing from the government defense fund before the day before 9/11?
Where does the money go? And is there a way to look it up? I mean, you would think taxpayers should have
a right to look where their money's going?
Where their money's going, yes.
Yes. You think they should. So, like I said, though, they hide stuff in plain sight. We've seen teleportation in countless movies, cartoons, TV shows. Yes, it's science. It seems like it's science fiction, but where do people come up?
Back in the day, like back in Star Trek, when Star Trek first came out, their communication devices and stuff with videos.
How many times have we seen, the wristwatches that are phones? Well, what do we have now?
Yep. Things happen, like there's ways when people dream it, there's a way to do it.
No, there is. Well, but it's also people draw. Yeah, imagination is a wonderful thing, but people also draw from their own experiences to create stuff or things they've seen. And like I said, with them hiding in plain sight, somebody who's seen it just kind of planted it into somebody's mind. Hey, you ever think of this like teleportation stuff? Somebody going from here to here instantaneously, and all of a sudden somebody's like, "Yeah, that's a great idea. I'll think of that. Like, I'm going to write that into a story, or it's a science fiction thing now."
Yeah, and it's like, where did they come up with the idea and concept for how to do the cloaking thing in the first place, which led to the teleportation? Is that some other alien thing, like technology that they discovered that they're trying to hide too.
Exactly. Well, the alien's perfect example. In the 40s and 50s, people are like, you're crazy if you think there's aliens.
Yeah.
And now look at today, it is almost unanimously accepted
that somewhere
that we are not alone.
Yeah. There's got to be some other form of life.
You were thought to be nuts. 30 years ago.
But they also
40 years ago.
Yeah, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, they thought the universe was a lot smaller than we know now.
Of course, but it's just one of those things. It's things ultimately end up to become truths that are very hard pushback. With a lot of pushback against stuff, they ultimately become the ultimate truths. That's the Philadelphia experiment.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Let us know what you guys thought about that one. But when we come back, did you ever think that somebody's controlling the weather?
I wish I could control the weather.
Talk about it next.
If you enjoy listening to Don't Shoot the Messenger, check out some of our other podcasts from the Just Don't Network. Shows like I'm Just Saying, Momnesia, and the all-new TNT Talk Not Turbulence. All can be found wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And now back to Don't Shoot the Messenger.
High-frequency active auroral research program from 93 to 2013 in Alaska. Weather controlling towers.
That should be a good 5 seconds with no background.
Well,
I don't know how much it was picking up, but just in case.
all right. We'll just grab Wikipedia was one, whatever. That'll work, I guess, for now. Do. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Don't Shoot the Messenger. As I stated before the break, weather control.
Yeah, like I said, this would be a great... It sounds more like a superhero power that, like something everybody wishes they could have.
It's not a
The
superpower.
ability to control the weather.
It's not a superpower.
Well,
Get it out of your head.
It'd be super to have the power.
Superpowers are dumb.
Oh, come on now.
So, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, also known as HAARP.
HAARP?
Yes. HAARP. HAARP.
2 A's.
Yes.
HAARP. So is this like
this,
for the really old people?
Yes. For the really, that's
They would
that's
need
AARP.
Not HAARP. Yeah, I know.
Come on.
This is the elite.
Gakona, Alaska.
Okay, we're in Alaska. It's cold.
Gakona, Alaska. University of Alaska Fairbanks. Field of Research. Ionosphere.
If anybody needs to control the weather, you would think it would be people in Alaska.
Maybe. The University of Alaska got a jointly funded program to research the ionosphere by the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Navy.
Oh, back to the Navy again.
Yes. Well, the Air Force is technically part of the Navy.
Yes.
So, but they have towers there. And these towers supposedly have a high-power radio frequency that can control
the weather.
That they can dictate what they want to happen.
I would, there are questions. I would say, why would you want to control the weather? Because that depends on whose hands. Like, I guess for military purposes, I guess there would be needs to, but I'm just speaking out loud here.
This started in 93.
Okay.
And there was $250 million of our hard-earned taxpayer money.
Well, let's be honest. You weren't around. Well, no, you were in 93. But it wasn't your tax dollars.
Whatever.
Your parents, maybe.
Yes. But it was dumped into this program. And it supposedly was just to, like I said, research the ionosphere. So, there's different parts of the atmosphere, if y'all don't
levels,
know.
Yeah.
So I was researching the ionosphere, and a lot of people were claiming that this is actually an attempt to weaponize
the weather. You think it's a gentle rainfall? Oh, no.
No, here comes a tornado.
These plans, yes.
It's...
Nefarious.
Yeah, so it was permanently shut down in May of 2014, though.
Permanently
shut down.
Because they decided it didn't work, or was just, oh no, we can't cause another tsunami. Is tsunami weather related? Or is it just geological? Sidetracking.
It was shut down due to lack of funding and operating costs. But then all of the facilities and equipment were transferred to Alaska, the University of Alaska Fairbanks, in August of 2015.
So why in 2015? Right. So
it's
a year later.
Yeah. So Rosalie, that's it. Rosalie Bertel warned in 1996 about the deployment of HAARP as a military weapon.
That's the thing. Why, if you're going to control the weather, why for military purposes? Why not use it for the greater good?
Well, let's see. If it's funded by the government, why would the government want to do anything for the greater good?
Right? Why help people?
Why not have
farmers
something
with their crops, and helping things grow, or
why not have something where you can gain more
from
control of
making
the
landfall?
world? Why not? Power is an addictive thing.
So here's a conspiracy thrown out there. How do we know all these increase in hurricanes and stuff that have been happening and flooding and wildfires in California aren't purposely being caused by the government and not necessarily, or because not purposely, but because they lost control of what they were doing, and it's not necessarily climate change so much as the government screwing up.
So the HARP program has been blamed for a ton of catastrophes. Thunderstorms in Iran, Pakistan, Haiti, Turkey, and Greece, and the Philippines. Major power outages, downing TWA flight 800, the Gulf War syndrome, and chronic fatigue syndrome. Now, Nick Burgick Jr., son of the U.S. representative, deceased U.S. representative Nick Burgick, and brother to former U.S. Senator Mark Burgick, says he claims that the HARP facility could trigger earthquakes and turn upper atmosphere into a giant lens so the sky could literally appear to burn.
That's kind of crazy, but
well, I mean, think about it. If radiation comes through, but I can go into the flat earther thing if you think about it. We're under a big dome. Turn that dome into a lens. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, there we go. Let's not bring up flat earth again. But yeah, I mean, to me, with considering the increase in hurricanes and flooding, like I was just saying, in the forest fires, if you don't want to believe it's from climate change, is this a viable alternate reason for it happening? Resulting from the U.S. messing with weather elsewhere, causing devastation in weather patterns here in the U.S.
Well, a Russian military journal wrote that the ionosphere testing could trigger a cascade of electrons that could flip the Earth's magnetic poles.
Which
would be catastrophic.
Yeah. They say, though, honestly, that the poles should switch, just based off of, going back millions of years, the Earth being here, that the poles used to be opposite, too, or tilted the other direction, and that they could happen again slightly over time. Are we seeing that shift now happening? Is it being pushed forward faster? What's the word? I can't think of the word. But accelerated.
Yeah,
being accelerated and happening because of interference by man.
Yeah, so it also has been connected to the destruction of the Space Shuttle Columbia in 2003.
The weather control
that it released a huge electromagnetic pulse that actually made the shuttle malfunction.
Wow, was that in 2003? It
yes.
Seem like it was that long ago. That's crazy.
But its recent events have chalked up to Hurricane Gustav, which prevented George Bush from appearing at the RNC.
Okay.
It was blamed for Hurricane Katrina, which was staged supposedly to increase the cost of oil. And the catastrophic earthquakes in New Zealand and China, Chile, Iran, and Japan to distract us from current economic malice.
Do you really need to create this stuff to distract people, especially these days?
Well, think about it. If people are getting on you, if the people are getting on you, what's the best way? A tragedy is the best way to make them forget about what they're mad about
and focus on something else.
Yep.
This is true. Good point.
So, I don't know if I necessarily believe this one.
It's.
I don't know enough about.
There's ways that they could be using it to make money, or like I said,
I know a lot about
advance America in other ways as opposed to using it.
Well, it's not even intentions.
Militarily.
It's not even intentions. It's actual use of it. I don't know enough about magnetic fields in the ionosphere to really make a claim of this. I mean, I know about radio waves and how radio waves work, and I don't think they. I mean, the it depends on what type of radio wave they're using, if it's FM or AM.
Yeah.
AM will be affected by the would affect the atmosphere more, or be affected by the atmosphere more so than FM can really travel through that. But it's very interesting to see. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it, as I don't doubt anything.
You gotta keep an open mind and skepticism about everything. You can't trust anything 100%.
Yeah.
For or against.
I don't know, James. What do you think? What is your Bible telling you? Is it just God, or is it man?
I think...
Do I have to pray?
I think it's something that for decades, if not centuries, people have wanted to control the weather, or wish they could, to help, like prevent droughts or stop floods or forest fires. And like I said, I feel like maybe, like I said, if you don't want to believe in climate change, that this is a viable alternate reason for all the crazy weather going on. So is it climate change, or is it man-made? Or is it man-made in a different way? Both are man-made.
Or is it both?
Both, a combination of the two.
It could be a combination of both.
Definitely.
Just because, climate change could be affected by this. The fact that they are affecting the atmosphere, like I said, with
acceleration,
the fact that they are making things happen, and causing earthquakes and causing floods and hurricanes,
and it's
and all
just
that
accelerating the already effects of climate change that are out there. Yeah.
So it could be. This is a very interesting one that I want to come back to.
Yeah, I could dig a little bit deeper, look more into it, see if there's any more evidence
we just
for
scratched
or against.
the surface on it.
Maybe it's piquing your interest out there, and to our listeners, and they can get back to us with what they know about it. So if you guys are listening and have any input on either this or our previous topic,
the Philadelphia experiment,
we'd like to hear from you. You can contact us. You can email us at DSTM@thejustdon'tnetwork.com, or Chris always loves his fan mail, so you can always email him at chris@thejustdon'tnetwork.com.
Jax, email me. I miss you.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Where in the world is Christopher Dickens? Find out where Chris is hiding out lately.
I know, she found me, so that's why we're in the same room for once.
For once. Yeah, you weren't scared off by me this week.
No.
So.
And then...
Lots of tinfoil around here.
Lots of tinfoil. Well, it's also a grow house. I mean, no, so, if you guys... Please hit us up. As always, you can contact me on Twitter at cdickens670. You can contact Jinx on Twitter at say hi to Jinx, even though she's never active.
It's just say hi, Jinx.
Oh, say hi, Jinx. Sorry. Yeah. Say hi, Jinx on Twitter. And that's all the time we got for today.
Yep.
So, as always, don't shoot us.
We're just the messengers.
Pew, 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 pew. Boom. Boom. Okay. This seems like it's going to be a shorter episode.